What's going on, guys? Welcome back to part 2, where we're going to show you how to take your vocals right from the microphone and make them sound pretty amazing. So in the first video, we did talk about some basic cleaning and tuning up in Melodyne. So if you missed that, I'll leave a link down in the description. But in this video, we're going to be doing some mix processing. I'm going to show you guys how I like to compress my vocals and then clean them up with some EQ, add a Deesser, and then finally adding that Autotune and some basic limiting at the end. All right, let's jump into it. Okay, so first up is going to be adding compression, okay? Because I want to even out this signal. Remember, we did the best we could up here manually, and now down here we've still got several sections that are a little less than even. Now, we don't need everything to sausage out and be completely even. We still want dynamics, but we do want it to be a bit closer. Now, really, you could use any compressor that you like, but I'm going to show you the way that I do it. I'm going to use the CLA2A. Sometimes I use the Slate Digital version that just came out and I really like it. Whether we use the Slate Digital version or the Waves version, or there's a lot of different versions, basically, this is emulating the LA2A. Okay, this is an optical compressor and it's actually a leveling amplifier. It's used mainly to get those vocals even. Okay, notice that there isn't an attack or release or ratio. Basically, it's set for vocal performance. So it's going to already do exactly what I want it to do. All I have to do is set how much reduction. And we're going to get about 7 to 5 dB of reduction. We'll make the compressor work a little bit. Not too much, like all the way down, but yeah, we'll make it work a little bit. So let's go ahead and do that.
Falling, falling in the rain. Falling, falling with a pain. Holding, holding in the rain.
Notice that we're getting a bit of clipping here, right? So we're going to go ahead and turn the gain down.
Falling, falling in the rain. Falling, falling with a pain. Holding, holding in the rain.
Awesome. Okay, so basically all we have to worry about with this particular compressor is how much reduction we want set by this knob, and we're going to go ahead and do the makeup gain, right? So I kind of bring it right back up, and I don't want to go into the red here. So the way that I like to check compression, and this is great for anybody that's like new to compression, is I actually like to freeze the track, and I'm going to actually drag it down with Option Drag Down, and then we can actually see what it's done to the track. So anybody that's learning how to use compressors or doesn't really know how to use compression, I recommend setting it how you think you want it and then freezing and flattening it or freezing and bringing it down so you can actually see if what you did is what you wanted. And this is exactly what I wanted. We've evened out the vocals and everything still has dynamics, but is much more even and will ultimately be easier to mix in. Okay, now that we have it nice and even, let's go ahead and use some EQ to clean up our track and get rid of any unwanted frequencies. The reason that we're going to EQ second is because if we EQ'd first and then compressed it, we would then bring back up some of those bad frequencies that we didn't want. And since this is an organic live performance from a microphone, we are definitely going to have some frequencies that we don't want, no matter the situation of microphone or recording environment. Okay, so let's grab our EQ and find those frequencies that we don't like and remove them. Okay, we can get rid of this. That was just to check it, and I can go ahead and unfreeze it. And now we're gonna go ahead and grab ourselves an EQ. Any EQ will do, but I prefer to use the Pro Q3, and I'll show you why. If I hover my mouse down here, it will turn purple, and then if I click once, it'll turn blue, and that will actually identify and freeze in place all of the resonant peaks. I know there's going to be potential problems between 200 and 500, and that's known as mud. I also know that there could be potential problems between 700 and 1,000. That's known as boxiness. And then between 3,000 and 5,000, we've got what's known as harshness. So these are areas that I'm going to be looking for. So let's go ahead and check this out, and then I'll show you. If I hover my mouse here, you'll see it go purple. I'll click it, it'll go blue, and then we'll talk about it from there.
Falling, falling in the rain. Falling, falling with a pain. Holding, holding in the
So we've got ourselves not too many problems here, actually. So we're definitely going to roll off up to the fundamental. And this is a potential problem. I'm going to check here too because it's close to that 3K area. And I don't think this is going to be an issue. Okay, so we're going to check these by making little nodes here. So we got 957 and 2.3. Okay, so I'll make one right here at 957. We don't really have to be exactly right on because I'm going to show you why in a second. And then 2.3, right? Boom. And then I'll bring this up to the fundamental.
Falling in the rain.
So now we're going to go ahead and solo our track so we could find those frequencies we don't like. And what we're going to do is actually click and hold the headphones button. And then with my left hand, I'm going to hold down the command button on the keyboard. And then I could push up and down to adjust my cue and ultimately pinpoint where the frequency is that I don't like. Let me show you what I mean.
Falling in the rain. Hold.
So right there, you could absolutely hear how horrible that sounds. So what we're going to do is dynamically reduce that, okay? We're going to go ahead and pull this down a bit, okay? And this will dynamically reduce that frequency as it becomes a problem. Let's check that out.
Falling in the rain.
And the best part is we don't have to adjust our cue because we already did it with the first step. Let's do the same thing with this frequency right here.
Falling in the rain.
Okay, there it is right there. Perfect, and we'll do the same thing. Pull this down dynamically, and that'll clean up those frequencies that we don't like. And of course, you could do the same thing with any EQ and just fish for the frequency, but this takes out all the guesswork. For anybody that doesn't know how to do that, let me quickly show you. So I'll just grab an EQ8. I'm gonna go ahead and mute this one for now. And what we're gonna do is we could use the headphones on here, and I'm gonna go ahead and just boost this to the top, and we're gonna go ahead and look around that area for the problem. Now I know in this situation that it is in this area, so I'm going to look here. But if you didn't have Pro Q3, you just have to search until you find stuff you don't like. Okay, let me show you how you would do this here. So we got our headphones on, meaning we're only going to hear what's under here, and we're going to find that area that we didn't like.
Falling in the rain. Falling with a.
Okay, so there it is right there. And then we're not going to touch this again because we found what we liked. Now we're just going to go ahead and reduce it. Now this won't reduce it dynamically, but it will reduce it. Okay, and you want to go between 3 and 5 dB of reduction, not too much, and make sure your cue's not too wide because if it's too wide, then you're taking out too many frequencies. And if it's too thin, then you're maybe being too surgical, unless of course you want to be that surgical. So somewhere, normal like that is just fine. And that's how you fish for frequencies with a regular old EQ. So I'll just get rid of that now and turn this guy back on. Okay, and let's move on to the next step, which is going to be de-essing. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and grab a de-esser. Now, I'm going to use the Waves de-esser, but there are plenty of de-essers, so use whatever one that you like. Basically, a de-esser is going to get rid of those S's, and a little bit of the harsher frequencies if there's any. So basically, we're going to pull this down until we get between 3 and 6 dB of reduction. We don't want to go any higher than that. So let's go ahead and do that.
Falling in the rain. Falling with a pain. Holding in the rain. Me.
Awesome. So that's an easy step, yeah? All we have to do is apply the de-esser and let it do its job. The only trick here is to not overdo it, and this will control your sibilance. So for this step of mix processing, we're just about done. We've got 2 more simple things to apply. So I'm going to, at this point, apply my Autotune. And I only really like to use the EFX version. It's actually super cheap. And the reason I like to use this one is because it's super basic and simple. It simply just does the Autotune thing with no whistles or bells. And that's okay because remember, in the first video, we went ahead and tuned it with Melodyne. If you guys haven't seen that video, I'll put a link in the description. So I know that this song is in G minor. and we're going to go ahead and set that right here. It actually modulates later to G sharp minor, but right here we're in G minor, and that's fine. So we can go ahead and set the voice type here. She seems like a alto or a tenor. Doesn't really seem like a soprano to me. Definitely isn't a bass. We'll leave our tracking on normal, and this is going to be our retune speed. Okay, so the more you want to hear it, the higher you can make it, and the less you want it to be obvious, you could put it on slow. So let's start out right there in the middle and see how that sounds. And if we need to adjust it, we will.
Falling, falling in the rain, falling, falling with a pain, holding, holding in the rain.
Okay, I really like that. Let's hear that actually with the music.
Falling, falling in the rain, falling, falling with a pain, holding, holding in the rain. We need.
So that's sounding pretty good to me. I might actually just lower it a little bit, but overall I like it, and as we get more finalized, I could tweak it if I need to. But for now, it's fine. So the last thing I want to do is make sure my vocals don't jump around a lot. Now, some people might go ahead and use like Vocal Rider, and other people might go in and draw in volume automation to do that. I'm going to simply use a limiter. I know that might be the lazy way to do it, but it does sound just fine. So I'm of the mindset of if it works, fine. I don't like to make things harder than they have to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get very basic limiting. I chose to use the L2 here, but we could use any limiter we want. I just like the way the L2 sounds on vocals, but again, any limiter is fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull down this middle section here, and it's going to bring down the threshold and the output ceiling as well. So what I'm going to do is actually match the level that I already have and just get a few dB of reduction, not even a lot, just so I know that the volume isn't going to be jumping around. So let's go ahead and do that.
Falling, falling in the rain, falling, falling with a pain, holding, holding in the rain. We need.
Okay, perfect. As you can see, I matched the level, so we have the same volume before and after the limiter, but we have a more controlled sound due to the limiter. This limiting step is something that I wouldn't do to every single track. I would actually put it on a group if I had multiple vocal tracks, which may end up happening in the next video. Remember, this is a completely dry take. It is cleaned and it is leveled, but there's no fun processing on it, no reverb, no delay throws, nothing like that. And that's what we're going to be getting into in the next video. So don't forget to check out part 3, where I'm going to show you guys how to properly add reverb, properly do delay throws, and some other bonus tips. All right? I'll catch you guys there.